UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer apologised on Wednesday on behalf of the British state, saying the 2017 Grenfell tragedy should never have happened, and promised to act on the recommendations of a public inquiry.
Mr. Speaker, I want to speak directly to the bereaved families, the survivors, and those in the immediate Grenfell community, some of whom are with us in the gallery today. Sir Martin concluded this morning, and I'm afraid there's no way of repeating this that won't be painful. He said the simple truth is that the deaths that occurred were all avoidable. Mr. Speaker, in the face of an injustice so painful, so deserving of anger, words can begin to lose their meaning.
A historic victory by the anti-immigration alternative for Germany in eastern state of Thuringia is already giving its migrant population cause for concern. The AFD won almost a third of the vote, 9 points ahead of the conservative CDU and far in front of Germany's three governing parties on Sunday. The result gives the far right its first win in a state parliament election since World War II, although there's still a little hope of forming a government in Thuringia because other parties are unlikely to work with AFD. There are fears that racism will worsen. Chancellor Olaf Scholz described the result as bitter and accused the AFD of damaging Germany, weakening the economy, dividing society and ruining the country's reputation. And for more on this, I'm joined on the line by our rights correspondent, Olarinoye. Hello, and thank you for joining us today. Hi.
Hi, good to see you.
All right, great. Okay, in a first, we saw on Sunday the far right winning, that's the Alternative Germany party winning the election, the state of Thuringia. But what does this actually mean for a country? That's Germany as a country?
Well, it is very significant, this win, although in the grand scheme of things, the party still has a long way to go, but it's actually quite significant and symbolic because this is the first time since World War II, almost 85 years ago, that a party like this has won any kind of election. Of course, that sends a very strong message, not just across Germany, but also across the international community, that we're seeing a resurgence of these kind of extreme political ideologies come to the fore once again. But it hasn't come from nowhere. So far, if we look across Europe, there has been a growing far-right sentiment, an anti-immigration sentiment. We've seen the same very much in parts of Austria, Italy, in parts of Spain, and more recently in the just concluded elections in the UK, as well as those riots that took place a couple of weeks ago. We've seen those growing views come to the fore and take shape politically. We're seeing that taking shape in Germany as well. It's worth noting here that although this is quite significant and symbolic in terms of the political landscape and the sentiment of some of the electorate in Germany, that in the grand scheme of things, this isn't going to completely change things yet, but it's definitely rattled the cage. As you rightly pointed out there in your intro, that they won in the an eastern state of Thuringia, but also they came a very close second in the neighbouring Saxony, as well as there's federal elections coming up next year. And the opinion polls are suggesting that there is more popularity for the AFD, something that could be quite worrying for Germans, as well as potential migrants that want to move to Germany.
But why do you think that the AFD keeps rising despite efforts? Why is it? Is it that the voters are punishing the ruling party?
Well, actually, the subject of asylum seekers and refugees and migration as a whole in Germany has been one issue that has taken center stage politically. If we cast your mind back to 2015, when the Syrian conflict occurred, then the Chancellor Angela Merkel actually opened the doors of Germany to millions of Syrian refugees who, of course, now work in different parts of the German economic sectors, are contributing to the economy. But actually, the reason why there's been that growing sentiment really stemmed back from then. More recently, just I think it was last week, there was a murder of two people at a concert or so, and it was said that the perpetrator was a Syrian refugee who was facing deportation. Of course, that has rattled people a lot more and has brewed the anti-migration sentiment. So for that reason, along with the timeline of migration, of refugees, of the intake of asylum seekers in Germany, has caused this far-right ideology to continue to spread and has resonated with many people. It is worth noting here that immigration policies across Europe have been a very dividing and divisive tactic used to gain votes, to divide voters, and it seems to have been working across the continent, but more so now in Germany, as you can see in these state elections. Now, just to add on to that as well, many of the refugees or these so-called asylum seekers have actually contributed to the economy. Germany, in certain parts of the country, have been facing a shortage of labour, and a lot of these migrants have been filling that. That may or may not have caused friction between various communities, and parties like the AfD have capitalized on that politically, and are using that to obviously gain more ground.
Well, there seems to be this perception that the state has been neglecting the East, failing to invest enough, not tackling issues such as social justice and crime. Now, with the AfD winning, do you think things will be different?
Well, it's too early to say, surely, because like I said, there's a federal election taking place next year. Those are where those crucial decisions will really be made and the impact will really be felt. But it's certain that people do feel aggrieved, they do feel neglected, they feel unseen, and they don't really feel a part of the wider German economy. So it's a wake-up call for the incumbent party, as well as the ruling Chancellor Olaf Scholz, to really consider the cry of the people, if you like, that they don't only feel neglected, but also economically, a lot of their anger is towards migration, and therefore that is an area that could be improved. Whether or not that will be challenged or impacted as a result of these state election results is too early to say. But actually, I think what it does do is that it creates a forecast of what could possibly come if there isn't any quick attention given to these regions of Germany that do feel left behind.
All right, thank you so much. Our Rice correspondent, Olarinoye there. Many thanks for joining us.